So we've been talking for a while about this idea that more money doesn't make people happier. And we talked about this a little bit surrounding the Powerball winners from last week. And I actually wrote my graduate research paper on the correlation between money and happiness, which showed a couple of different things, but most interestingly, that money and happiness do correlate, but only up until about the equivalent of 10,000 US dollars, which I guess now with inflation would be 11 or 12,000 US dollars. And that beyond that, happiness doesn't really increase with more money. There's now a new study which points out something else, which is yes, having more money in and of itself does not buy happiness. However, there's a new study from the American Psychology Association which shows that there is one way that money can buy happiness, Lewis, and that is small but steady increases in earnings. In other words, having more buying power in the absolute does not appear to make people happier. But the idea that from year to year they are making progress and increasing their income actually does seem to be connected to happiness, and this is across 135 countries. This is from 2005 to 2011, and this is based on over 800,000 people. That once you basically have food, shelter, and basic needs covered, the way to be happier, at least when it pertains to money, we know that there are a lot of non-monetary ways to increase happiness, is just feeling like you're making a little more every year, feeling like you're making progress. This actually does make a lot of sense to me.
Right. I mean, it kind of, there's the sense of advancement and of bettering yourself, and I think that fits with that. But at the same time, it's also kind of like winning like $1,000 on a lottery ticket, right?
Right.
You're like, hey, look at this. Okay, I get a little something extra. I'm happy now.
Right. So you're happier because of the immediate win. But the actual consumption increase that the $1,000 allows does not actually make you happier.
Right.
And it wears off immediately.
Yes.
So maybe what we're saying is if you could win the lottery every single year, that's the key to happiness. I don't know.
Win a small amount of money every year.
Yeah, I don't know. What's your thought on this, Natan?
Yeah, there's also other studies that show that people's satisfaction at their job in terms of money has very little to do with the actual amount that they make, and more to do with how much they make in comparison to their colleagues.
Right. Well, that's more of a micro-analysis. I think the idea here was let's look across all countries and for people at very varied income levels, et cetera. Certainly for people who, if you take, there's many specific examples where if you take someone who makes $50,000 or who makes $100,000 where their colleagues make $125,000 versus someone who makes $80,000 when their colleagues make $40,000, the person making twice the average in from their surroundings is actually way happier.
Right.
We've seen that. But that's a little bit of a different analysis, I think, Natan.
Yeah, but in both cases, it's not the absolute number that is producing the happiness. It's
Absolutely.
just the relationship that it has with your status quo and with the people around you.
Perfect. I think that's really what we're getting at.
Indeed.
Thank you, Lewis.
Mm-hmm.